I asked you guys the question 3 weeks ago. Fellas, who's the most influential indie dev of all time for a tier list? If we're going to talk about most influential indie developer tier list, I think that in order for us to properly rank every other developer on this list, we have to consider what's an S tier and what's an F tier indie developer. Once we sort of have that spectrum sort of determined, we can properly start talking about everyone else that falls in between. Which one is the least influential? I don't even have to tell you guys already know. And it's Yandere Dev. Because Yandere Simulator has been in development for over 10 years at this point. Whenever I think of it, a prime example of who's an indie developer I don't want to be with. Well, I don't want to be hostile towards my community. I don't want to have weird allegations piled up against me. I want to make sure I make a good indie game. I think that's the most basic requirement for being an indie developer, at least an influential one. I want to be a good indie developer that inspires people. Yandere Dev is none of those things. Now, when we're talking about the most influential, which one of these is the top of the top? Look, I don't think it's even an argument. I think Notch goes S. You may disagree with Notch, you may not like what he posts on social media, and you know what? I understand, a polarizing figure is gonna have some people who disagree with them, some people who don't disagree with him. But you can't really deny the fact that Notch is the most influential indie developer of all time. You just really can't, man. You just really can't. Most successful indie game of all time, that's one. Even though he didn't invent the voxel aesthetic, because his game was inspired by Infiniminer, a different game, his game definitely popularized it to the point that voxel is its own aesthetic, and now we have games like Trove, we have games like Cube World, we have games like Pixel Strike 3D, all of these people that are just inspired off of the aesthetics of Minecraft. Okay, so now that we have whoever's S tier, now we have whoever's F tier, we have that sort of baseline. You guys are talking about Scott Cawthon. Here's Freddy Fazbear representing Scott Cawthon. How would you guys rate Scott Cawthon? Some people are saying S tier. Why? He created one of the biggest fan bases of all time. His games were so influential, there are so many fan games, it's crazy. I will agree that the dedication that I've seen from the community on Scott Cawthon is ridiculous. People are really, really super passionate about the world and the story that he's built. You don't know how big effect on shitpost and furry community had FNAF. I'm not too knowledgeable on how FNAF impacted the furry community. That's just way out of my expertise, to be honest. Because it's an area of expertise that I'm not expertised in, I'm gonna go with what you guys are saying. Let's put Freddy Fazbear in A tier. Sure, why not? Stardew Valley B tier? No. You're wrong. Objectively wrong. Stardew Valley's not B tier. Listen, guys, it doesn't matter how much you haven't played Stardew Valley, this game is easily, my goodness, this is easily S tier. In fact, it's S tier over Freddy Fazbear. It's right underneath Minecraft, but it's still S tier over Freddy Fazbear. I don't think you understand how much of an impact this stupid little game has on the community. If you think that Stardew Valley is anything lower than S tier, you guys are single AF. You guys have never had a girlfriend in your life. Listen, this game is insanely popular with cozy gamers. This is the standard, the peak, the one thing that every cozy indie game developer wants to be. They all want to be the Stardew Valley. To the point that every cozy game that comes out, it's just, oh, this is Stardew Valley in space. This is Stardew Valley in underwater. This is Stardew Valley with witches. That's literally how you describe every single video game, every single cozy video game. It's this is doing Stardew Valley, but somewhere else. Not a single game dev has been able to compete with Stardew Valley. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Terraria. Where would you guys put Terraria? This is the one case where I say that copies sold doesn't determine how influential the video game is. Because if we go to Terraria copies sold, maybe I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but Terraria has sold 58 million copies. And even though it's sold so many copies, I really don't think it's that influential of a video game. I don't think Terraria is definitely revolutionizing any genre or anything. It's a really good game, but this tier list is about which indie developer is the most influential. So I'm gonna put it in A tier, for sure. Okay, first order of question. Do you guys know who Danny is? Do you guys know who Danny is? You probably don't. I think everyone in this stream knows him. Make a new tier, SS. I love Danny. Okay, maybe people do know Danny. Good. I thought I was the only one. Now, Danny is actually a super interesting case. Really, really interesting case. Because Danny is a YouTuber. Or at least was a YouTuber. But here's the thing, Danny, look at that. It's just I've watched a lot of his videos. Danny is a game developer who's known for making like these janky little funny games. Like he created Muck, he created Crab Game, which was a copy of Squid Game. I think where Danny holds a lot of the weight is the fact that he inspired other indie developers. Like he inspired basically a wave of indie developers to just give it a shot. You know, it's just like, hey, just get out there and make something. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's what I like so much about his games. You know, they don't have to be perfect. They can be janky little funny messes, and that's okay. Danny was just really good at saying like, hey, we can make game development seem fun, seem entertaining, and it's okay if it's just a little funny janky mess. That's part of the process of learning. Put Danny Dev on A rank at best, B or low A, Danny's A or high B. Okay, there. Is that a good spot? I think that's a good spot. Alright, so Toby Fox. Guys, am I being gaslit by the Undertale community? How influential are we talking about Undertale? The Undertale community is very sensitive, so put him in A. Yeah, if I were to do this, man, I would get canceled. If I were to do this, I would get hated on. Since we're going based off of what you guys are ranking, sure, we'll put Toby Fox here. Let's put Toby Fox here. Toby Fox is more influential than Terraria, but it's just like around here. Now let's go through some of these real quick, okay? If we're gonna put the father of roguelike games somewhere on the tier list, where are we putting Edward McMillen? It's because of this stupid little thing that everything that's coming out is a roguelike. The Binding of Isaac S tier. Everything's an S tier for you guys. Literally everything's an S tier for you guys. Now, I will agree that The Binding of Isaac does have some pull. I will agree. There is some influence for being like the father of roguelites. I don't know if it's an S tier though. This would be a high A in my opinion. There's definitely an argument for being S tier. Yeah, The Binding of Isaac needs to be like around here. It's just like here, right next to Freddy. Are you guys fine with that? The Binding of Isaac is just somewhere in between A tier and S tier, slightly above Freddy Fazbear. In terms of influence, I'm not talking about copies sold. In terms of influence, The Binding of Isaac is the reason that everything on Steam is a roguelike game. Alright, Cave Story. What do you guys think of Cave Story? Daisuke Amaya is the reason Metroidvanias had a resurgence. I have personally never played Cave Story. Yeah, can I be honest with you? I haven't played it either, but I can recognize that if this is the game that inspired the new wave of Metroidvanias after Metroid and Castlevania kind of just faded into obscurity, it does deserve some points. Like, if we're talking about most influential, whatever Cave Story is, Team Cherry has to be under. It has to be under. So if we put Cave Story in A or B, then by default, Team Cherry has to be in C or F. Because without Cave Story, we wouldn't have Hollow Knight. Or at least Hollow Knight would have been something completely different. Yeah, Daisuke is definitely on top of Danny, so let's just put this here, this here. I think this is solid. I think this is really solid. And then by default, Team Cherry then falls under B tier behind Danny, because Danny was super influential. Where would you put Touhou? Let me see if I can get some gameplay. Alright, what are we looking at here? Touhou gameplay and commentary. Oh, this is from Moist Critical. From 12 years ago. Okay, so yeah, it is just bullet hell. Bro, this is just Space Invader. This is just like that one little funny game with the ship, right? This is just the game with the ship, but instead you have little anime characters. It's a series that started in 1995, so it's really, really old then. Yeah, it's really, really old. I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely played this style of video game before. I've had some fun playing it. I don't know how influential it is though, so I'll leave that up to you guys. Yeah, okay, I know it's only 7 votes. I know it's not that much. Sorry, I'm not a huge streamer with thousands of viewers to get a much more accurate representation. But, okay, we can't tie. We cannot tie 29% on A, B, and C. There has to be a number, okay? We need at least one more vote. Stretch Touhou among... Okay. Touhou character PNG. You know what? Let's put this, because that's the chick. Sorry, bro. I know you're the developer, and this tier list is about developers, but you're going to hell, and now we put the chick. Is that what you guys want? Is that what's gonna make you happy? Just start making tier lists like that? That's it. This is final. We're leaving Touhou like that. So, if Touhou, then Cuphead, which is also kind of like a bullet hell kind of video game, but it's more like a boss rush kind of video game? Yeah, let's put regular Cuphead somewhere around here. Let's delete this one. I hate this one. This has got to be like either B or C. Like, I don't see this being anywhere near the echelon of the giants. I don't see this being a Yandere Dev tier, but Cuphead is kind of just like in its own lane, you know? Actually, if we're talking about pure influence, I think Cuphead would probably be here. You know, this has got to be probably the least influential because they're very popular within their own niche. You know, Cuphead is very popular. It's a very popular IP. I'm not denying that. But in terms of how much outreach it has, how much it's inspired other video games, yeah, I think we can have our solid first C tier. And that's not to say that Cuphead is a bad game. It's just that it doesn't have that much pull. It doesn't have that much influence. And just like with Balatro. Now, Balatro is literally, I feel like this thing came out yesterday. You know, it's still very early. It might inspire a bunch of other card games, but it didn't revolutionize the deck building game. It's just literally a roguelike poker game. Like, it's not that influential. Balatro is probably like around here, honestly. And it's not to criticize the game. I know the game is good. People are obsessed with it. But in terms of like how influential the game actually is, it's like, okay. Okay, we hate Phil Fish, okay? That much we can agree with. Phil Fish, personality, terrible. Fez, it's a good game. Fez is a good game. No one's denying that Fez is not a good game. It didn't really break any records. However, Phil Fish was featured alongside Edward McMillan on Indie Developer the Movie, whatever it's called. I think Phil Fish probably just tainted the legacy of Fez really, really badly. Like, we can talk about how Notch is disliked by some crowds, and some people actually like him. You know, I personally like Notch. You know, I like Notch. Notch is cool. But Phil Fish has no lovers. Phil Fish is hated by almost everybody, unfortunately. Like, I think he did have some pull early on, but he's definitely fallen from grace. Like, 100% he's fallen for grace. He's either very low C tier or somewhere in F. F for sure. All right, you know what? I listened to you guys. We'll put him underneath... No, sorry, no. We're not gonna put him underneath Yandere Dev. That's just not gonna happen. Yandere Dev, definitely worst indie developer of all time. But yeah, this is the whole tier list, guys. What do you guys think? I think it's good. I think it's great.